Okay, so let's see how I went from this to this and this and this awful piece of crap. And let's also answer a very important question. What is the most important skill for any painter? And what is a battle-ready model and a tabletop model as well? Here we go! I always have a plan for my videos. This is what I think I have. But life likes to throw you a banana skin under your feet when you're jogging. Very often. I just wanted to make a video on different type of painting schemes and how to get there really quick and really easy. What is the difference between them, blah blah blah, all that shit. But then I made a boo-boo on one of the models. And unfortunately I had to rethink the whole idea for the video or just scrap it. And I know how you guys love to watch me fail. Numero uno point first. What is the most important skill, or maybe two skills, every painter needs, every miniature painter needs? Drumroll, tidiness, and practicing simple techniques to perfection. Let me explain this in detail while showing you the paint job. So, what is a battle-ready standard? According to some definition I found on the net, which seemed legit, it goes like this. This is a simple to achieve standard, where every model has all their main areas colored and a basic finish applied to their bases. Battle Ready is a celebration of your army, in addition to preserving the atmosphere and spectacle of Warhammer World events. Alright, that seems pretty easy and straightforward. But is it? We have our test subjects here. The models, when I found them in my drawer, were already glued and sanded to some extent. Nevertheless, I took the liberty of refining them again. There are only a few things that bother me more than mold lines, and most often they are not visible until I prime the models. Afterwards they got some texture paste and I left them to dry overnight. Then it was just sanding the bases of the excess paste, putting them on wine corks with a double-sided tape, and they were ready for priming. And just remember guys, to clean the models in any way you can after sanding. I use Winsor & Newton brush clean, but water and soap should be equally fine. 1-for-all acrylic black with a 0.5 needle green stuff World airbrush. It does the job nicely, but it was also my downfall with the last model, more on that later. After this the model got a coat of Abaddon black. I don't know why, but I didn't remember that I have a lot of the Air version, so I had to use it. The whole model got a coat of Kantor blue. Crimson Fists are my favorite, and I will fight any of you all day over the fact that they are one of the coolest, if not the coolest chapter. At this point there's no mistake in my work. The model has all the parts covered, there are no grey areas sticking out, the details are visible, I am tidy as much as possible. This is supposed to be a battle ready and therefore should be quick and clean. Some metallic paint for the details without a wash. This probably was the part that took the most time. And this is the first example of me being sloppy. When I was painting the rims on the shoulders, I hit the blue area. Had to paint it over. The brush helps, but still, this is something I need to practice more and more to avoid time consumption and paint waste for such moments. What helps with being neat and tidy is having a good brush with a sharp tip. The one that I use here is a Kolinsky Sable Raphael. Very good brush. Is it the best? Probably not, Does it stand somewhere in the best brush category? Yes, but brushes as well as paints are an individual choice. Now, let's see the finished model and discuss it a little bit. And this is the finished model. Really quick paint job. It took more or less 2 hours. I probably made some mistakes, but I don't see them at the moment. If I were, for example, to paint the whole squad, the time for each one of them could be reduced substantially due to working in factory mode. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment. Alright? Now the tabletop option. Alright, so according to the definition of tabletop, this model is supposed to look good. Therefore, I started with a white Zenithal to all of the highlighted areas. Guys, don't be dicks, subscribe to the channel. It will definitely help me improve, get more viewership, get more comments, and I will make more fun videos for all of you. Do it! The highlighted areas got a spray of Calgar blue. This is definitely a lighter paint to Kantor blue and will stand out. All of the non-highlight areas, on the other hand, got a few thin coats of Kantor blue. To boost the contrast, I added some muted grey Liquitex acrylic ink in the deepest shadows. Tabletop, my friends, should be, in my opinion, well done, but a quick paint job. No NMM therefore. All of the metallic areas were painted with the same Dur aluminium. The biggest difference here was adding Nuln oil on all of the metallics and to the recessed shading of some points. The edge highlights are an important element no matter what style you do. They are just a must. I tried doing them with Calgar blue, but they didn't stand out enough, and I switched to Vallejo Deep Sky Blue. This paint has a lot more white in it, and was perfect for the job. What I didn't show in the videos was adding the decal. I am still struggling quite a bit with them, as it will be visible on the last model. What I need to accent here is once again being neat and tidy, being clean. This really helps because you don't have to redo anything after 1 or 2 good passes of paint. All of the edge highlights went on as intended. I mean, I know that there are people who can look at them and tell me that this is shit, but in my opinion those people can suck donkey balls. This is as good as I can do them, and in my opinion this is okay. I know that I could have done that better, but I still practice painting straight lines as it is not as easy as it seems, believe me. All of the details got a base paint and then a wash, a highlight paint and some edge highlights if needed. Precision and tidiness. Those skills will save you a lot of time, like in this example on this model. Painting straight lines, doing edge highlights correctly, not painting over other areas, using the brush as intended. Believe me, this skill or those two things, if practiced enough and in tandem with a good brush, will generate a masterfully painted miniature and save you a lot of stress and time. What is the success story here? Paint as much as possible, as many different models as possible. Paint inside the lines, Try black lining, edge highlights, small details. It will take time, but you will get it. All of the Games Workshop display models are painted this way. I should have, looking in retrospect, started with learning this rather than focusing on blending techniques. You can get a great model without blending, but it will be shit without being clean. The last few things to do were on the base. After some time, the model was ready. What do you guys think about this option, the tabletop version of the model? In my opinion, this looks a lot better than the battle ready one. The only thing you need to know here is how to operate with an airbrush, which is not even necessarily needed. It just speeds up the painting time. All of the other things were covered with tidy brush strokes and some patience. And now, let's see the last dude. He was supposed to be a variation of the tabletop model scheme. My own very quick tabletop plus standard. And it was all fine until some shit happened. Let's see the process. I started with a few thin coats of Kantor blue, followed by an overall Zenithal of Calgar blue. This was supposed to set the stage for further highlights and some deeper shadows if needed. I didn't want to go all out in the highlights with Wolf Grey, therefore a mix of Wolf Grey and Calgar blue was sprayed to a few highlights repeatedly with a few thin coats. I didn't also go with pure Wolf Grey as I wanted it to be the edge highlight paint. Like the previous model, this one got a coat of muted grey ink in the deepest shadows to boost the contrast. It is not needed, but it defines the previous paint job a lot. I wanted to give him an MM, not a blended fancy one, but a simple layered yet effective very vibrant NMM with great contrast where needed. And then this boo-boo happened. This is what I am talking about when I say being tidy is important. After airbrushing, it is hard to cover such a mistakes. You can make it into battle damage, for example, or cover such a shoulder pad with decals. I have tried the latter and failed miserably. Well, have a look of what happened to the Mini. A word of explanation first. I wanted to cover his shoulder pads with gloss varnish and leave him overnight to dry. This helps with the decals. Every time I clean my airbrush between changing paints, I level up the PSI and put some airbrush cleaner through. Unfortunately, I forgot to lower after such a cleaning session. 50 PSI with a 0.5 needle and being relatively close to the model resulted in such a strong flow of the fluid that I stripped the paint off the shoulders in some parts. I don't pretend that I am not a dumbass. The hard-learned lessons are the ones that stick with us with the longest. I will definitely never forget this. Going forward, I thought to paint it over after applying decals, but those were done really poorly and look like toilet paper after wiping your ass. Nothing else left here but to share my disappointment and what you can learn from my mistakes. Alright, now that you have seen all of the mistakes that I have done, let's summarize all of the things that we were talking about and have seen here. Going from the left, we have a battle-ready model. Really nice, really quick, effective, and there is no shame in such a simple paint job. It gives you a quick army for playing. He took me more or less 1.5 hours, and I think I could paint 40 or maybe even 50 of those guys spending 1 week of afternoons after work if I prepared a plan and went to factory mode. The tabletop took a bit longer, up to 3 hours. This would be of course reduced when painting in bulk. When painting a big group, you get quicker the more models you paint. He looks quite nice. This will probably be the go-to painting scenario when I will paint my Crimson Fist's army. The last one. Well, as always, I wanted to overdo and add too much to the process and ended up poorly. I don't know if it was distraction, my poor skills, or lack of experience, but the result nevertheless is the same. I damaged the model to the point where I gave up on him. Once again, this would have never happened if I had more patience, be more focused, and had better brush skills. Of course, as always, thanks a lot for joining me today. You are all spectacular and I really mean it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give a like, give a share, leave a comment. Have a look at my Patreon or Instagram. Links to both of them will be in the video description. Check out the Discord channel. It is free and I'm very often there. So take care guys and see you on the next one. And don't ever forget, the Emperor protects.